Welcome to episode 10 of On the Mark with Arpit. We're here to talk about primarily the Champions League semi-final first legs. We will also look at what's coming our way from the Europa League and the next fixtures from Europe in terms of England, Italy, Spain, Germany as well. Some interesting matches that we'll point out. Mark Seagraves, as always, here with me. Mark, I'm sorry. I know we wanted to do this earlier in the week, but obviously I had better things to do. So, which is why I couldn't. No, that's not true. Which is why I couldn't get around to you. But here we are on a Thursday evening, going to look back at the past two nights of Tuesday and Wednesday. We won't get a chance to delve into what Salah and Klopp had going on the weekend. I don't know, maybe towards the end of the show, we'll get a reaction for that. But let's just talk about the two semi-final first legs that we witnessed. Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid 2-2, and Borussia Dortmund and PSG ending 1-0 in favor of the German side. So because Dortmund versus PSG happened just last night, I think we'll start with that. 1-0. If anyone had predicted a clean sheet for the four teams, for any of the four teams before the legs began, no one would have said Borussia Dortmund. You've seen the match, Mark, 1-0 to Borussia Dortmund. What did you make of it?
Well, do you know what? Both games have been even Steven, really. There's so much riding on it. I mean, if you looked at the previous, the quarterfinals, there was goals galore. Now you're getting to the nitty-gritty now, aren't you? So, as you said, with Dortmund, I mean, they got beat 4-1 at the weekend by Leipzig. And then they come into the Champions League, and they're a different team defensively also. You know, Hummels, again, I've said time and time again, you know, I criticise him for his defending, but when he puts it right, he's fantastic. And one of them days was yesterday because it was a great defensive performance and a great goal as well, you know, from a player that is a bit rough and ready. He's came into the game late. He's now playing in the international team as well in Fulkrug. So, but this game is far from over.
Of course, it's far from over. It's just one goal. We know PSG can score goals. At home, they tend to do well. They've already won the French title, the third title in 3 years, so a hat-trick for them. But let's just talk about the positives of Borussia Dortmund first, and then we'll come to PSG and what they can do or didn't do on the night. So first, the goal. Let's talk about it because a lot of, talk about that goal was possibly on how PSG was setting up and how the space was found. But I know you want to appreciate both what Nico Schlotterbeck did and Nicholas Füllkrug did.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great ball into him. And he's, do you know, the one thing we could say about Füllkrug, he's not dainty. His touch isn't that great. But everything that he did in this particular instance was top class. Now, if it had been Harry Kane, if it had been Mbappe, if it had been any one of them players, we'd have been loading it and saying, wow. But not only that, it was the touch. He was aware of the player coming into him on the side. And it was the strike as well to beat the goalkeeper. And it was fabulous. It was a great goal. But that just wasn't the reason why Dortmund won the game wasn't because he scored that goal. It's because they defended as a team. I think 45% possession, so it wasn't a possession-based game for them. It was a case of them saying to PSG, you come at us and we'll deal with everything that you put at us. And, PSG had 10 shots off target, only 3 on target. So it tells you that they've defended really, really well, not just as a back four, but as the midfield and the forwards as well. So they all collectively did a very good job. Now, whether it's big enough or good enough to go to Paris and seal the deal, if they play like they did last night, then they've got every chance of going through to the Champions League final.
They defended pretty well. Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Go on, Mark.
No, and the way the Bundesliga is going, they need to get to the final and possibly win it.
Interestingly, the coefficient now means, because I think Bayern drew and Dortmund won, so no German team lost. I'm not really sure how this works. I would love to get someone on who exactly understands how this coefficient is going to work with every round. But apparently, it should be enough for Dortmund being in 5th place now to get into the Champions League. So that's what it is right now. I don't know if the second leg changes it and suddenly we're like, oh no, Dortmund need to win the Champions League or whatever. I don't know. But as of now, it looks like they'll get into the Champions League with that 5th position. Good defending, you mentioned it. We were watching Karim Adeyemi, who's usually so fast going forward, and he had about, I think, at least 4 or 5 lung-busting runs back to try and cover, Hakimi, to try and stop Dembele, and he was just doing a tremendous job. And you could see at the end of it, he was just kind of gone. It was done. He was spent with all that effort that he put into that match. Dortmund played pretty well. You mentioned shots off target for PSG. Mark, incidentally, twice in the space of 20 seconds, they hit the bar, or they hit the post, sorry. And that's called a shot off target. So that's how close they came. The script could have been very different. This could have been a 4-4. This could have been a 4-1 to PSG also.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that it was 1-0 doesn't represent the game itself. It was a good game, but there's so much on this, and you can see players playing with a tightness, if you like. It wasn't like a free-flowing game. The next game will be, because PSG have to go at Dortmund, and Dortmund then have to. It'll be interesting to see what the manager does in terms of how he goes about his tactics. Does he say to the team, let's defend the 1-0? If he does that, then that'll be the wrong decision in my eyes. Yeah. But it's got so many differentials, hasn't it? I looked at Mbappe in the first half. Everything was a half chance. There was no. They were trying like bears to get a combination together, and it was always getting cut out by the defense, and it was scrappy. But I mean, that was for the whole game near enough. But as you say, there was so many good cameo roles. Adeyemi, forget about his going forward. Defensive, as you said, was absolutely fantastic, and that was the key to Dortmund winning the game. It wasn't just, as I said, the back 4 or the back 5 playing well.
I thought Chan did a great job as well. Quite underrated in that game, because there were times. That's the thing about some of these midfielders, right? They do things that aren't really glorious or anything. It's a very simple thing: either stopping a runner, getting the ball off them, and just pushing it and giving it to a teammate. So it doesn't look very glorious. But I think in that midfield also, Chan did a tremendous job.
He absolutely did, but Emre Can looks as though he's going to get sent off every tackle he goes into, because he's always on the cusp.
He looks it,
and then what I love about him is he'll go in and rattle someone and rub him on the head with a big smile, so the referee lets him away with it. But I mean, that was. I mean, it was a great. It
was a good performance from Dortmund, collectively as a team. One player we're obviously going to single out, Mark, is Jadon Sancho, right? And everyone's talking about, wow, look at the number of dribbles. I think it was 12 statistically, that take-ons that they call, and successful dribbles and everything. And it's become a joke a little bit on social media. Stefan Wiankowski also tweeted about it, saying Man United are going to spend another 100 million on Jadon Sancho. One, I'm pretty sure you agree his performance was good. No one's going to deny that his performance was not good. But the difference between good performance and a 100 million player, you still think there's a gap between that for Jadon Sancho, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not about his physical ability. It's about his mental ability, because he's gone with a huge reputation to Manchester United. And for one reason or another, it has been on the field as well, because he didn't start well. Now, when you go to a big club like Manchester United for a big fee like he has done, and didn't start on the right foot, then it's a hard task to come back to it. And then you add on to the fact that he had to go at the manager in social media and whatnot, and then the manager's reacted to that, and then he's gone back to Dortmund. So all of these things are all in place. He did have a good game yesterday. I just wish he was more forceful in when he does. He can dribble, of course, and he goes at players, but a lot of the time he'll go at a player and then he'll turn himself inside and play it into midfield. Where go and test your fullback. If you get the ball taken off you, that's fine, but keep testing and testing and testing. And they have both Adeyemi on the left hand side and Sancho on the right hand side, who've got ability at going forward in 1v1 situations. But the way the game was, especially on the left-hand side with Adeyemi, he was more of a defensive player. But Sancho played well yesterday. And some of his critics, mainly in Manchester, will have a look at that and think, okay, there's still a player in there. Yeah. There's still a player in there. But it's whether it's a player that's going to go back to Manchester United and perform.
It's also whether a player that Eric Ten Hag, I mean, we're going to do a completely separate show one day talking about Eric Ten Hag and his man management. So we can't get it in here because there are a lot more things to talk about. Yeah, Jadon Sancho, good game. And maybe he's just growing in confidence, and maybe he'll come to that part where you're saying mentally he's probably still not there, and then you'll see him taking on players like he used to. Incidentally, there was this statistic that came out on the weekend. He scored that goal against Leipzig, and he is the most prolific Englishman in the Bundesliga ever now. He's going to get surpassed by Harry Kane very soon because Harry Kane has 35 goals. Sancho has 40, I think. Harry Kane has taken only one season, so he's obviously going to go past Sancho. But credit to Sancho, he's got a goal, and he's now on that list of most prolific Englishmen in the Bundesliga. About PSG, just quickly, Mark, because it's so crazy how fans react to what happens in one game. They go from, oh, wow, this player is amazing, he's world-class, he's the best Ballon d'Or, to saying, oh, my gosh, he ghosts in big games. I don't think Mbappe particularly ghosted in this match. I thought he tried. He had a couple of great shots. He hit the post as well. I did feel like Bradley Barcola maybe didn't have the game that he would have wanted, and neither did Dembele.
Dembele definitely didn't have the game that we wanted off him, because he's been good in the last few games, especially in the Champions League. Barcola's still a young boy. He's big. He's raw. He did some good things, but it was really congested in there when they got up to them front three. There wasn't, as we said, that combination play in and around the box where they'll flick it around, go and get the second one, and then take a shot. Dortmund defended really, really well on that. Yeah. I don't think Mbappe wasn't trying. I think he was trying, especially early on in the game. But the one thing we know about Mbappe, he's always a threat. No matter, he can, he's got that pace to burn. He likes to play in closed areas where it can be bum, 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 in and around players, and then he gets his shot off. But the one thing we know about top-class players, Arpit, we've said this on previous shows where we've highlighted Bellingham didn't play well in one game, Mbappe didn't play well in another game, Dembele didn't play well. And then what did they all do on the one night? They all played very, very well and got their teams through to the next round. Yeah. So, Mbappe at home, I still think his head's on the right way. I don't think he's given up. Whether he leaves at the end of the season, it's only time will tell.
It's pretty much done and dusted. They're saying his last game in Europe at the Parc de France is going to be that one against Borussia Dortmund. And I mean, you said it right, like these guys have come and shown us, like Mbappe in the first leg against Barcelona, everyone said, yeah, well, he didn't do anything, and then came back to haunt them in that second leg. And you already mentioned Bellingham, so we'll move on to that next game, quickly cover it. Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid. 2-2. Mark, we are all going to eat our hats, as they say. Bayern Munich still doing well in the Champions League, still didn't lose to Real Madrid, started like a house on fire, and will be ruining, as most teams do against Real Madrid, the chances that they created.
Well, they could have been 1-0 up in the first 30 seconds, couldn't they, with Sané? And if that goes in, then it's a different game. But the one thing we know about Real Madrid is they never give up, and they've got players in there. And I'm a big advocate about world-class players. They have to be world-class. But they have players in their team that could become one of them players. And I'm talking the likes of Toni Kroos, who's been a proper player. He's world class in my opinion, because he's done it on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly, on a yearly basis. And his ball, like we've seen in the game for Vinicius Jr., was world class. But we can't take nothing away from Bayern Munich. Absolutely, Harry Kane obviously got his penalty, of course, but Sané was a threat all day long. And if you take him out of Bayern Munich, he could play at Real Madrid, he could play at Barcelona, he could play at Man United. He's shown he can play at Man City. He can play at the top level, and he is a threat. We talk about Mbappe being a threat. I think at the moment, for me, I wouldn't want to play against Sané. I'd like to play against Mbappe before Sané, because Sané is pacey. He's direct. He gets at you. He gets his shots off. He's got a bit about him as well. He looks as though he's a sulker. He looks as though he'll have an argument with you if it doesn't go the right way. Yeah. But I think him at the moment for Bayern Munich, he is the big threat. Forget about Kane. Kane's the goal scorer. He gets his goals and he is a threat. But this is set up really, really well, isn't it?
Interesting. Interesting you said that about Sane. I'm just going to come in here and say, so there was this tweet, I think, from Arjen Robben, and he complimented Sane on his game, and he said, that goal he scored also was very good. And then Sane retweeted that, and he said, I've learned from the best, obviously giving compliments to Arjen Robben, who played for Bayern Munich. I just had this thought, and you've given Sane so many compliments right now, right? And Sane's played at some big clubs. He's had his opportunities. He's not the youngster breaking out onto the scene right now. When you see what Arjen Robben used to do for Bayern Munich, or have seen rather in the past, and now you look at Leroy Sané, and again, I talk about the fact that you've complimented him so much in the past 2-3 minutes. Do you feel they're anywhere near the same level, Arjen Robben, that we saw for Bayern Munich and Leroy Sané right now?
I mean, that's a hard one because Robben was fantastic, wasn't he? And if you look at his stats, they'll be better than Sané. But on any given day, either one of them, in my opinion, will be a real threat. Now, the thing with Sané is, I think his body language at times is not great. He's like a sulker, whereas Arjen Robben was a worker. He never gave up. He never sulked. He was always the one. But as I say, on any given day, either of them could cause problems.
So you have to pick a team for tomorrow, Sané or Robben?
I'd go for Robben because I know that I could get that off him so many other times. But that's not to say that Sané isn't a threat. Sané this season for Bayern Munich has been a real. He's been their player for me, their player of the year.
Oh, wow. Come on. It's obviously Harry Kane, Mark. He scored 43 goals in 43 games.
I know, but this is the thing, isn't it? It's like the Ballon d'Or. He's going to win the Ballon d'Or, is he? Because he scored 43 goals in 43 games.
Good. Yeah.
So when are the centre halves going to win it? Who stopped 43 goals in 43 games? Do you know what I mean? And so I mean,
I know your views.
I think Harry. If you were to ask me the same question, would you like Harry Kane or would you want Mbappe in your team, or let's say Lewandowski? Right now, I'd say Harry Kane. Of course, I'd say Harry Kane. But the argument we have, and it'll be another argument for another day, is
this goes on. Yeah,
is these words world class? Then.
Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. Just quickly, I don't think we need to talk about it because you said this. Bellingham didn't have the night, and everyone will agree that Bellingham didn't have the night that everyone thinks Bellingham should have. But you agree that it's probably just a one-off because he's shown us enough number of times that he is. When you say world class, I think Bellingham is definitely one of those people who comes to everyone's mind. So we should expect a better performance from him in the second leg. The second leg, nicely poised. Bayern Munich away from home aren't that great in the Bundesliga. In 15 matches, they won only 9. Even against Arsenal in England, they drew 2-2. But then Real Madrid, for their part, have been drawing at home in the knockout stages. They've not been winning their matches as well. And Lucas Vazquez, who was at right back, filling in for Dani Carvajal, will not have to play as a right back. Dani Carvajal will come back in. Who do you think the second leg favours?
Oh, Real Madrid all day long. At home, the new stadium, if you like, will the lid be covered or will it be open? The atmosphere will be electric. And as you've just alluded to, Bayern Munich this year away from home haven't been great. They haven't been the Bayern Munich that we've known when they've won the Bundesliga for the last 9-10 years. Yeah. They've had their bottom smack, let's say that, this year in the Bundesliga by Leverkusen. Real Madrid have too many players in their locker who can win games on their own. Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., Bellingham,
Kroos, Modric, who comes in as a substitute.
Valverde. They've got amazing players. As have Bayern Munich, but I've seen Bayern Munich a lot more than I've seen Real Madrid this year, and I just think that somewhere along the line, Bayern Munich have done great in the last 2 or 3 Champions League games, but domestically they've been average. Now, is this another one where they're going to have to get up for it again? I'm sure they will.
Yeah, and to everyone's surprise, they have been getting up for it.
Yeah, and I think it's a big ask. I think there'll be goals in the game because I don't think Real Madrid, defensively, as we've seen, they do concede goals.
It's crazy though. In the La Liga, I think there was some stat that said they only conceded 22 goals in the whole season or something like that.
Oh wow!
But when it comes to Europe, for
Yeah.
some reason, they just are not the same team that played in the La Liga. So they do tend to concede, and we've seen some high-scoring games. City, Real Madrid last time around 3-3 as well. Okay, cool. Those are the Champions League matches. Any quick comment before we move on to the matches coming tonight, Mark?
It's just interesting for me that both are so poised.
Yeah.
And anyone, I was watching the show last night, and Ashley was saying, you can't pick one or the other. And even after the two games that have been, you still can't pick one or the other. So that's good, and that's good for the Champions League, and it's good for the Bundesliga as well, because both teams are very much in this.
Yeah, could be a Bayern Dortmund final, just like Wembley 2013. So could be a repeat of history, and maybe Dortmund could win their second ever Champions League because they are the definite underdogs in the four teams over there. Just quickly, Mark, and I said this on the show as well, Bayern Munich this year in the Bundesliga at this point are 4 points better than they were last time around. So a lot of people criticizing Bayern Munich, thinking, oh no, look how the standards have fallen. It's actually not completely true. Dortmund slipped last year. We know about how Dortmund slipped. Otherwise, I think Dortmund lost the title on the final day. Dortmund would have won the title if they would have gone ahead and did what Leverkusen are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't just the final game. It was the final 10 minutes. Musiala scored the equaliser, didn't he? And it just shows what a good job that Bayer Leverkusen have done, isn't it?
Exactly, which is what I'm saying, that Bayern Munich aren't ridiculously worse than what they were last season. They are pretty much doing similar things. It's just Bayer Leverkusen have been way better than what Borussia Dortmund. Literally, Borussia Dortmund had a spell of, I think, 3-4 games post the break as well, I think, where they just lost a little momentum. Anyway, Bayer Leverkusen, since we're talking about them, let's talk about the two Europa League matches coming our way, semifinals. Marseille versus Atalanta. Atalanta, another team that both you and I absolutely love. And Roma versus Leverkusen. I've not watched a lot of Marseille. I'm not really sure how they have been playing domestically or anything. Just on paper, Roma versus Leverkusen looks like a match that you should stay awake for, doesn't it?
Well, it is, because obviously Roma's a huge club as well, isn't it? Back in the day, they've just had Marino manager, he's left. It's a huge club. And we've been used to seeing them in the Champions League and Europa Leagues and doing well in their own domestic league. But this time around, I think they're fifth in their own domestic league. They've got themselves into the semi-final, but they're playing against the hottest ticket in town, aren't they? You know what I mean? So, and they're at home, so they've got to put themselves out there, because they're not going to get a result at Leverkusen, not on the basis that we've seen Leverkusen at home. So this is an interesting one for me, because whoever wins this, I feel, wins the Europa League, because these are the two big hitters in the out of the four, if you like. I know Marseille's a big club, as are Atalanta, but I think
Atalanta amongst the four teams are possibly the smallest, But they've been punching above their weight.
But can Leverkusen raise themselves again? Because it's no easy task playing any Italian team, especially Italian teams at home. There's going to be 80,000 people in the stadium. It's going to be electric.
In Rome, of all the places.
Yeah, and can Leverkusen? I mean, I'm not saying that they can't get up for it, but they've been up for it so long and for so many games. Can they keep that momentum, that impetus going? And that's going to be a really interesting game tonight. I want to see how Xabi Alonso sets his team up. Does he just go and say, it's about us and we'll play our game and let Roma worry about us? Or does he say, I'm worried about Roma, we're going to change our style, we're going to go to a back four instead of a back three? I hope he keeps what he's got going. And as I said, it'll be great for the likes of Granit Xhaka as well, who's had a load of nonsense, when he was at Arsenal towards the end. And now he's getting the credence for what he is. He's a very, very good player, you know what I mean? And he's been instrumental in everything that Leverkusen have done. So, yeah, it'll be a feisty game, though, Arpit. It really will be.
It should be. Yeah. We're really looking forward to it. And Roma play Juventus on the weekend. Then they come back, or they travel rather, and play Leverkusen. And I think after that, they play Atalanta. Do you think that's going to affect them a little bit, or they're just going to say, forget everything and focus on Europa League?
They're going to forget everything and focus on this, because they're not going to win the Scudetto. They might, where are they? The 5th. So they've got a chance of being 4th. And listen, everyone, I don't think any manager or any players want to rest in any games. They just want to keep playing. And there's a saying, isn't it? You've only got the next one in front of you, and the next one in front of them is Leverkusen. And unfortunately, or fortunately for them, it's Juventus at the weekend. Now, if they get a good result against them, then let's see what happens in the second leg against Leverkusen.
And Atalanta play Salernitana, who are literally bottom of the league. Atalanta have a game in hand over Roma. They're 2 points behind, so they could actually leapfrog Roma into 5th and then be level on game. So it's interesting for them. Marseille versus Atalanta, your prediction for that one tonight? Who wins?
I hope Atalanta. And we've seen them, about 4 or 5 years ago when they had lots of good players scoring lots of goals, playing lovely football. They had a great result against Liverpool.
I was just going to say, they still have some goals against Liverpool also. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not hard, is it? When you've got a back four of Arnold.
This is going to stay. Yeah, this is going to stay with us for a while. Okay, and Roma Leverkusen tonight?
Oh, I think it'll be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1 or 2-2.
Were you going to say something else? Sorry, I interrupted you about Marseille, Atalanta. Were you going to say something else about?
No. As I say, we've both got a soft spot for Atalanta.
Oh yeah, we do.
Gasparini's done a fantastic job. He's had to sell a lot of his star players, but he keeps bringing these other players through, and they haven't done that well in the league as such, but in these cups
they're an attacking side. I think that's what we love about them. That even they don't have the best players in the world, they'll still try and attack, and their mentality is always that just go attack. And Liverpool felt a little bit of that force against them as well. And the romantic story of Gasparini being one of the long-standing coaches in Europe. That doesn't often happen in modern football, and it's happening at Atlanta. So I know that I'm so affectionate about Atlanta, and all the very best to them. 2 Italian teams in there in the Europa League semifinal. Okay, so we've done that. There's another interesting match tonight. I just realized before, while doing the prep for this, Chelsea versus Tottenham is actually tonight at midnight, our time. And Chelsea and Tottenham both are having interesting.
I wonder what score Chelsea are going to get beat.
Yeah, it's crazy because I was looking at the clean sheets that both these two teams have, Mark, and Tottenham Hotspurs in the last 26 matches have 3 clean sheets. Okay. For all the great play that Tottenham who do, and Ange Postecoglou doing a great job. 3 clean sheets in 26 matches. Chelsea have 2 clean sheets in 19 matches.
Okay.
It is going to be a 0-0, isn't it?
Well, obviously it is, but no, it's not. If Chelsea play the way they played against Arsenal, then Tottenham have got a really good chance. This doesn't have any real bearing, does it, on the Premier League as such? It just has a bearing.
But it's still, there are 2 managers trying to say that we've been doing things right, and there's 2 clubs very close to each other as well.
And it's a derby game, isn't it? So, back in the day, Tottenham's in North London, Chelsea in West London, so not so much. But yeah, it's a big night for both, because if Pochettino, they get beat, then the spotlight's going to be on him yet again, isn't it? In terms of, is he the man for the job? And Postecoglou, his ones is to get in, or his mission is to get into the top 4. We've waxed lyrical about him. He's been a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, all of that goes to the side because, the owners want to see a progression in the results and stuff. So, I just edge Tottenham in this because, as I said, the last game, Chelsea were all over the place.
Not the last game. I know you're talking about the Arsenal game. The last game they drew with Villa, but both have conceded 7 goals in the last 2 matches. So that's an interesting stat going into this one. And I have to remind you about what happened last time around in case it didn't come to your mind. Tottenham had 2 players sent off. Do you remember that match? where they were playing the the high
Oh,
line
they were
at
playing
half
high
line.
line.
Yeah, you remember that game? So
Yeah.
that's what happened the last time around. Chelsea actually won it 4-1. That was one of the biggest victories that they had. But I'm pretty sure Ange Postecoglou, even if he gets red cards in this one, will say, okay, don't go till half line, stand a little behind, and let's see how we can deal with this. Cool. That's coming our way tonight at midnight, and then of course the Europa League matches at 12:30. And on the weekend, I said we'd talk about a couple of matches that are coming our way on the weekend. Tottenham actually playing Liverpool on the weekend, and we now can bring in Liverpool, Salah, and Klopp, and everything that's gone wrong. We already mentioned, the chances created amazing, finishing not that great. That one moment, I wish we had discussed this on the weekend, Mark, but that one moment between Salah and Klopp, from my point of view, I think Salah was okay when he did it on the pitch. I get it. Players can be, and everyone can be. Klopp can be. Managers can be. We get it. It was what he did after it, when he
But what he
had his
said,
time. Yeah,
what
if
he
I
said,
speak now, there will be
fire.
fire. You kind of just lit the fire by saying that, didn't you? And Klopp has come out and said, it's done. We dealt with it. The player and I have, he's been what you would expect to come out. And one of the things my father used to tell me when I was younger, right, was like, never wash your dirty laundry in public. And I know with football clubs it is a little hard, but with Liverpool, where Jurgen Klopp has kept this team like this for such a long time, and Salah has been his star, I just feel Salah should have done better. I think he was. I think the word class escapes my mind when I think about that incident where he said that.
Absolutely, I agree with you 1,000%. I think it's Salah with his ego has been dented a little bit, and whatever they said, you've got to the player has to get on with it. And as you say, you don't wash your dirty linen in public, do you? Because have you noticed, Arpit, you mentioned something there. There's never been a story coming out of Liverpool,
Yeah.
but everything was going well for both Salah and the football club. And I've said this on many occasions with Man United. As soon as the results aren't going well, footballers, who I've told you are selfish individuals, will go into themselves and say, it's not my fault. It's his fault, or it's not the manager's the training's not great. We're training on bad pitches. The balls aren't hard enough. Whatever it is, they'll make excuses. And Salah, and you mentioned this, Salah should have been dropped, or easily could have been dropped, and he did get dropped. Now, if the manager says to him, now I want you to come on, whether it's in the 89th minute, the 93rd minute, or the
It
first
wasn't even
minute,
in the 89th minute. That's the
I
thing.
know,
It wasn't even
but
that late.
he's let all of his grievances come out in front of the cameras. Now, whether that was premeditated for an angle for him to be able to say, nah, my time's up here at Liverpool, or it was just a reaction. But why do it? I mean, we've seen what's happened, and especially the press in England. They're ruthless. They're looking for something like
They're
this.
waiting,
They're looking for an angle. And the
and
thing
Salah
is,
should know this. Yeah.
You don't give them it, or you try not to give them it. Not at least not on a platter like he did. It was like he should have had a microphone and said it so the whole of the crowd could have heard it. But and then we're getting all of these stories from players. Antonio saying what he'd said, and the coaching saying what he said. It's probably what I don't know what he said, but it's something of nothing. And obviously the managers tried to downplay it, but it's very much Salah's responsibility.
So to any Liverpool fans who comes around this podcast and listens to it, wait for a Piers Morgan interview right now, because as United fans are going to enjoy it if that happens. I doubt it will happen, but if it does, we're going to have so much fun getting back at you. Cool. We've kind of done with that. But anyway, Tottenham play Liverpool on the weekend. That's a good match to look forward to. And just two cup matches that we're going to quickly touch upon. I know we've gone about 34 minutes already. Stuttgart play Bayern on the weekend. They are battling for that second, third position, and Bayern, of course, seem like they are going to hold on, but this match could be very, very crucial. Stuttgart, for their part, finished 16th last year, 15th the year before it. So they've gone 15th, 16th, and now could be third worst case or second best case. Bayern, can't take that match easy, can they, Mark?
Absolutely not. Stuttgart actually had to play in the playoff to stop from going down. So they played the team in Bundesliga 2 to not go into that league. And the revelation has been Guirassy, isn't it? He scored something like 29 goals this season. But there's 5 points in it. And you've got to look at Leipzig as well. Leipzig are on 62 points. Now, how many games? They've got 9 points to play for. So if Bayern Munich have got their eyes off the target, if you like, because of the Champions League, then they could find themselves. It's not going to make any difference whether you're third, fourth, or second, I don't think, in terms of the Champions League. Or is that just the seedings you will be?
No. It won't make a difference. But I think Bayern Munich top bosses will be like, oh, come on. How did we finish? Yeah.
So, again, it'll be interesting to see how Tuchel, what team he puts out. You'll know by the team what he puts out that, whether they're going to have a go or not. Pavlovic will probably come back in. The interesting one for me, Arpit, about Bayern Munich, they play Mazraoui in both games, left back. They've got Davis on the bench, who's a left back,
recovering a little bit.
But he's played games, and they had another left back on the bench as well, and yet they're playing a left back, and I just thought that
right back.
And well, Kimmich, that's where he started as a right back, Kimmich. And then I don't know who changed him, who put him into midfield. I'm not sure who it was. Anyway, I think it might have been Guardiola. He changed him from a fullback into a midfielder.
He loves that.
That was an interesting one for me, especially at such a big game, against a Real Madrid team who,
I think Alphonso Davies, if he's feeling much better, should be starting in that left back position once he's back. I think there was still some concern about his fitness. And the final match that we're going to talk about is, again, second versus third in La Liga, is Girona hosting Barcelona. Barcelona second, Girona third. That's going to be a good battle as well on the weekend, Mark.
Yeah, because Girona have been first, they've been second. I mean, this is a fantastic achievement for them. It's a little club, but it's backed by one of the biggest people around, isn't it? I think they're in with Man City, aren't they, and stuff. So they've got a lot of good players that Man City have loaned over there and are in the club right now. So yeah, that's a big one. Barcelona don't have anything to really play for other than second place, do they? So that can go either way. I'm not sure how the game went in the previous game when they met each other, but this is a big game. Yeah, the La Liga is done and dusted, of course, but it's a big game.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly look at what Spain La Liga matches, and we have Girona playing Barcelona, and the last match, it was actually a draw. 0-0.
Yeah.
They played Barcelona at home. So, I'm really sorry. Wait 1 second. Girona beat Barcelona 4-2 last time when they played.
Well, there you go. So they're no coach, and at the end of the day now, I mentioned flip flops and chapels to you. Have the Barcelona players got theirs on now? Because
also because Xavi said he's staying. When he said he was going to leave, when he said he was leaving, they suddenly were playing much better. I think it was announced that Xavi officially is going to be here next season. Xavi Hernandez, I think he's staying at Barcelona.
All right,
and then Lothar Matthaus from Bayern Munich said, well, I think Thomas Tuchel can stay as well because everything is sorted now, so he doesn't really need to go.
No, but the supporters have put a petition, haven't they? So
not wanting Ralf Rangnick, so they want Thomas Tuchel as well. So he might stay again. I think Eric
because they've tried to get Nagelsmann and that didn't work.
He said
tried to get Alonso, that didn't work. So maybe it's the devil you know than the devil you don't, isn't it? And
they could try for Eric Ten Hag. He could.
You wish.
Okay, cool. I think that about covers the games that I wrote down. Mark, is there anything else you want to say before we end this?
No, I've looked across the big leagues and most of them are done and dusted, aren't they? If you look at The French league's done.
Yep.
Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A's done. It's really only the Premier League that isn't. And it's been a great season this year because it's not just one team dominating or two teams dominating. We've had three teams that have been in there right to the end. Now, Liverpool have dropped off and they're out the race, but it's still very much game on, isn't it? And it's a case of who can keep their nerve more than anything. And it'll come down to, I feel, it'll come down to experience. Man City have got that experience. Arsenal haven't. So, interesting weekend for all of that, isn't it?
It is. And you spoke about the top three teams in the English Premier League. I think the more mayhem is after that, 4 to maybe 10, 11, because I think barring Aston Villa, who seem to have been possibly the most consistent team, everyone else has just been up and down. Brighton haven't won a game in 6 matches. United have been, Chelsea have been doing whatever they do. So yeah, it's been
and
quite tumultuous.
Even Spurs haven't been.
At one point were really good, and then suddenly they had a few matches as well. Cool. Awesome. Mark, when I was preparing for this, I actually thought we wouldn't have too much to talk about, and we've gone like 40 minutes talking about so much. But that's what happens. And just before we end, I should also tell the viewers that every time Mark and I, and that's possibly one of the biggest reasons why we started this podcast, every time we talk on the phone, even if it's to ask one question, we end up talking for half an hour about all the nonsense around mostly football and the world as well. So yeah, we have a lot of fun doing it, and I hope you guys have fun listening to it. Thank you so much, Mark, and I will see you on the next episode, and all of you who are listening as well. Bye.
Have a good weekend, everybody.